Hi, so here we're going to look at the codegen-maven plugin, which is used to generate finders mostly. Now this plugin is part of the Ebean enhancement tile. So if you've got the Ebean enhancement tile, you've already got this plugin as part of your project, but otherwise you can include this as a separate plugin if you like. So there's a few things that it does, and the first one here is help, which just generates a help message saying how you can use it. The next one here is init, and this will generate some sort of initialization helper things. So one is main DB migration Java for running database migrations, and it puts that into source test. Some properties files, so example Ebean and test Ebean properties files, plus a logback test XML file. So this will generate those if you don't have them already. And the last one here is the one we want to get into, which is generating finders for entity beans. Okay, so if we have a quick look at our project here, actually I'll just quickly show you that. So for build plugins, I already have the Maven Ebean enhancement tile, so I don't need to have the separate plugin in my project. So if we do the first one, which is the help command, we just get help messages saying what each of the commands are. So the next one we'll run is init, which is used to generate properties and etc. and main DB migration. So if we run that, so it said added main DB migration.java. Test Ebean properties already exists, leaving as is. Similarly, logback test. Similarly, Ebean.properties. So it didn't do anything for these three, but it did add a main DB migration. So in test Java, if we do a refresh here, now we've got a main DB migration. So this is just a nice easy way to run database migrations. If we did that, just run it. Database migrations generates in our main resources a migration SQL, which are a versioned SQL DDL statements, if you like, and a model. So for example, if we changed our customer model here, we rerun the database migration, it will detect the change and generate the next migration script. So here we've got our migration script: alter table customer, add column description. Now, normally with DB migrations, you can control the versions, etc. But that's another subject, really. So go back to here. That's what DB migrations is. Now let's look at generating finders. So if we had a look at our help here, so we need to go Ebean cogen generate finders, and with a -d package, specifying the package name of our entity beans, which are an org example domain. So let's do that then. Maven code gen. What am I doing? Generate finders -d package domain wouldn't work too well. Domain. So that's gone ahead and generated finders for customer, which is our only entity bean, and also it's done this linked finders option. So what that means is that if we go into customer, we've now got this public static final field here for Customer Finder, and it generated Customer Finder, which is in this sub-package here. And if we have a look at that, that extends the Ebean Finder class, which is in avaje-ebean, and has some extra clauses in here for where and text. So let's just have a little test of finders. Let's just do one. Yeah. Sure. Okay. So if we went customer.find, by ID, and it's taking a long, so we'll give it some sort of long value in here, and that'll return a customer. Okay, if we run that. Now, sort of finders are really, if we look at the query, find by ID. Finders are sort of an active record-y type style, as opposed to the more traditional DAO style. And these are actually a write-up about the two different styles. But with Ebean, the active record style is pretty natural because Ebean's stateless, so this works pretty well. The thing that you typically want to do with finders is add some all of your finder logic for customer onto the customer finder. So for example, if we want to do something like this, find by name. So name doesn't exist, but if we did find Rob, and oh, let's try that again, it's a bit more slower. Right, so let's create a method called find by name. So we can just use the existing where, and that's going to return a query bean. So we've got name. So if we go I equals, why not name, and find unique. So now if we run that, we've got our two queries, find by ID, well, find by ID, and find when we had lowercase, so because it was I equals, lowercase name, bind Rob. So that's good. So again, generally with finders, the idea is that we're adding in all of the finder logic relating to customer to the customer finder. And then the idea here is that this makes it just nice and easy to do any sort of finding logic, including getting reference beans. So get a bean by ID without loading it, for example, and doing some other things like delete by ID, etc. Okay, so the thing I want to quickly show you now is how we can test with finders. So that's pretty much done. If you want to keep going and watching this video, we're just going to go into testing finders now. So in my project, if I have a look at my POM, I have a test dependency on avaje-ebeanorm-mocker, and that brings in a few things for helping us test against finders that are on static fields. So let's say we want to do this. We've got a WithStaticFinder method called use. So for customer class, we're going to replace the finder with a test double that I haven't created yet. So let's create a test double. So let's just extend the customer finder and override the find by name method. Let's create a dummy customer So for our test method, we won't actually do the query. We'll actually just return our dummy customer value. Okay, let's put a breakpoint on there. So TD finder. So what we're doing with this with static finder use method is we're replacing the finder on customer with this test double. Now we need to use that for a period of time and then restore the original finder. So if we did another search after here, let's search for Jim. So in this section here, we're going to use our test double, TD finder, and then after the restore, we're going to go back to normal normal finder, which would be in here, and that'll hit the database. Let's put a breakpoint there too. Okay, so it's probably a good idea to put the old try finally in here. Let's just knock a bit of noise out here. Okay, let's now run this with the debug. So I've come into my test double. So I was after the WithStaticFinder. I'm in here and I've got into my test double and I'm going to return dummy customer. So if I go here, that's not the right thing. Well, we've kind of lost the scope there, so that's never mind. And then we go into here. We're going to go into our actual original customer finder, and this is actually going to hit the database. So let's hit the database doing our select. So this will be finding Jim. Okay, so if we have a look here, we've got our query to find Jim, but we don't have our previous query, which was to find Rob. Okay, so that's with Static Finder. And there's kind of another way to use Static Finder, which is you'll see in the documentation a bit, and the video is certainly on the testing, is that there's a thing called DelegateEbeansEbeanServer, so we can create one of these guys. And with Finder on customer. So we're doing basically the same thing, but in a slightly different way. So DelegateEbeansEbeanServer can be used with this mocky thing, mocky-ebean, right? Run with mock, but I'm going to just show you that basically in here there's a before run. So this is effectively saying let's swap out all of the finders with our test finders, and then in our filing block we'll do that again. So we'll go delegate, and then we'll go after run. Whoopsie. So this is, we don't need that anymore. So with what the DelegateEbeansEbeanServer with the finder here is actually basically using the WithStaticFinder. So this is kind of a second way of doing the same thing as we just did before with our previous test. So I'm gonna check and assess out this here. Breakpoint there. Okay. So this is going to be the same as before. So we've come into our test double and we're going to return our dummy customer. So Rob is customer 1110 is the object ID, and that's the same as our dummy customer 110. So it's the same instance. And if we carry on, we're now into our real finder, which is invoked here with Jim. rock and roll. Let's have a look at the console. So again, we only have our one select statement, and that's find Jim. Okay, so effectively what we're saying here is that we're putting static finders on, static finder fields, and to some extent that's not cool, but to another extent we can use DelegateEbeansEbeanServer and WithStaticFinder to replace the finder with a test double. Okay, so that's it. I'll let that end. Cheers.